Hi there and welcome to Sean Cameron Photographic. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I judged a photo competition for a National Dog Breed Association. And I'll tell you what, it brought up a couple of very interesting points that I thought I'd share with you. Well, they were interesting to me, so that's why I thought I'd share them. Now, point number one, I have never seen so many entries by people using their camera on their mobile phone. Well, how could I tell that, I hear you ask? Well, firstly, because the image aspect and dimensions, generally by default, phones use 4:3 and DSLRs 3:2. But more importantly, I could read the metadata, of course. Okay, I've been judging this particular competition for a number of years now, and as usual, I had 6 competition categories to look up. And up until now, I've tended to be sympathetic to the phone users. I mean, after all, you can control the settings of a DSLR far better than you can with a camera phone, can't you? Well, I kind of changed my mind, to be quite honest, because as time went on, I realised that the enthusiastic snappers, oh God, don't you hate that term? You spend hours planning and waiting for the perfect moment, then somebody describes the result as a snap. Infuriating. Anyway, I digress. As time went on, I've begun to realise that I'm looking at it the wrong way round. Because the people entering these types of competitions are, on the whole, not the type of people that study photography as much as we do. And why would they? They're far more interested on dog breeding, showing and producing the best of the breed that they specialise in. To be honest, a subject I know sod all about. But for this competition, they're using a combination of DSLR, compact and new camera phones. And it's easy to see that nowadays, the latter, the mobile phones, have the advantage. You see, the mobile phone designers have got pretty good at pinpointing what photos their customers prefer taking and then designing their firmware and software accordingly. I mean, this means that when we spot an opportunity, we whip the phone out, take the shot, no messing. Whereas DSLR mirrorless users are still pressing buttons and spinning dials long after that event. They're the ones I needed to have sympathy with. The phone users are well supported anyway, aren't they? To illustrate what I mean, I did an experiment this morning. There was a stunning sunrise, and so I got up early and I went out and I took one shot with my iPhone and various with the Z9. Now, why various, I hear? Well, because it took me a while to get the vivid colour and light balance and exposure that I was after. You see, the phone had utilised its built-in algorithms to get the best settings, and the Z9, well, at best it had me trying to get the exposure right. The second thing I noticed was that despite the entrants knowing that the overall winner's image would be used on the front cover of their annual book, they insisted on mainly taking landscape aspect images. That meant that by the time I got to choosing the best of the best, I had to demote a stunning image as it wasn't fit for purpose. It fell at the last fence, so to speak. The runner-up fitted the bill and followed the guidelines and quite rightly became the winner with another cracking shot, because it was really close, that'll look great on the front cover. And do you know something? That reminded me of the advice once given to me by a very, very successful gig photographer who, over a bottle of Jack Daniels one night, said, if you want a front cover, the second task is to capture a worthy shot, but the best is to make sure that you've composed it correctly for the magazine. Now, I might not remember that correctly, and you'll have to forgive me, but what he meant was make sure that there's enough space at the top for a header or masthead, or in other words, the magazine title, as well as sufficient space for the cover line bottom right and bottom left. In other words, what's going to be in the magazine. You see, the whole left side of the front page is crucial because traditionally it's the only bit showing when it's overlapped by the other magazines on the shelf. Therefore, using that area to display the magazine name and an enticing list of articles encourages people to buy. This is where you, as the photographer, come in. Here are a few of my front pages, and you can see where I left enough space and took them as a portrait. Even if the image doesn't make the front cover, there still needs to be enough room for the editor to place an intro to the story, bottom right or left usually. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy, but we all know that feeling when the photo we've taken is a good one. And we know it even before we press the shutter. You know it, you've felt that. So if you're taking photos with a magazine in mind, all you have to do is give yourself a little extra space as you're framing it. Now, I'm not saying that I do that every time I lift the camera, but I tell you what I do when there's a possible front page appearing. It takes seconds to turn the camera and recompose, thinking about where the most important of the image will be on the front page or in the magazine. Do you know, and with that in mind, that information might even get you a front page or even win you a competition. Anyway, I hope that's helped. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to see my next video and see why I paid £260 for what is in essence a torch, so my wife says, then subscribe and you won't miss it. Okay, until then, see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.